All right, hello everybody from the craft world. My name's Mark Purciel. I'm the owner, brewer, and whatnot of Oceanside Ale Works. Yep, come on in. Let me show you around.
Hello everyone, welcome to Craft Lifestyle on Tap, the show where we talk about everything craft. I'm Rob Esposito, and this is my partner Sean Flannery. We're both veterans of the brewing industry, and today we're interviewing Mark Purcell from Oceanside Ale Works. All right, excellent. I couldn't think of a better person to have in here for our first episode. Very excited to have you in the studio here. You've been a scion of the community for a long, long time. How long have you guys been in business?
2006. I actually started brewing late 2005, but we had our soft opening on April 20th, 2006.
April 20th, 2006.
Yeah.
We're in 2021, so 15 years in business.
Wow.
We're getting old.
It goes by.
We're getting old.
Like a bullet.
So the first thing I want to cover real quick is some local community events, and you can kind of chime in here. We just want to the idea behind our vlogcast is to kind of get a holistic view of all the different kind of craft beverage styles that are made in San Diego. We're beer guys, so we're starting there. We're starting with beer.
Very good.
But we're going to eventually pull in wine and kombucha and hard seltzers and some of these other things, mead, other things that folks are making. But today we're just gonna cover a little bit of quick beer news about a couple of new breweries that are opening, and one is right actually in your neck of the woods and very close to where I used to live in South Oceanside, and that is South O Brewing just announced that they're going to open in December. They're coming into a spot that used to be the Beauty College in Oceanside for locals, if you remember where that was, right on Coast Highway there. Very close to Primo's, which is a famous Mexican market. They're going to open in December. They're looking at a 3,300 square foot facility with 900 square feet devoted to a tasting room, and they plan to have about 50 people in at a time is what the tasting room will seat. They're going to have a 10-barrel brew house, and Maury Fletcher, who I think all of us are familiar with, is going to be serving as head brewer. And I think you might know Maury, and I know you do, Mark. Maury we've known for a long time. He was head brewer of mead at Golden Coast Mead for 3 or 4 years, and then I think he's been the head brewer at Booze Brothers Brewery in Vista for about 6 years. So quite a lot of experience there. Great brewer. He's going to make some wonderful beers. And it says that he's going to be making lagers, IPAs, and assorted ales, plus hard seltzer. And they're going to begin brewing in late October, and if everything goes as planned, they're talking about having their grand opening on December 4th. Now, being in the brewing industry, we know nothing ever goes as planned, so take that day with a little bit of salt. But they're looking at December 4th. For their grand opening. Excited to have them. I don't live in that neighborhood anymore. I wish I still did, because it would be really nice to have another brewery within walking distance. And then again, our good friend Maury making some great beers. Yeah,
we did a collab with Maury once at Oceanside Ale Works.
Oh, did you?
Beekeeper's Mead. Yeah, we sold a bunch in Vegas, no lie.
Awesome.
Yeah, we had a distributor out there. We were at City Center and stuff. Yeah, it was a good batch.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, maybe if we have time and sometime we could talk about distribution and how that works.
Okay, yeah.
That'd be a good subject. And then down in South County in the city, we've got some interesting news. So we know Hamilton's has been not a brewery, but a famous craft beer bar in the community for years and years. I think they were there for about 20 years. And so they shut down during COVID, I guess. And so that property has been empty for a year or two now. And it's just announced that the group behind Bottlecraft, which is a family of bars and restaurants, is going to go ahead and buy that site. And they're talking about opening a new pub called Bach, which is going to be somewhat focused on European styles. They say it's going to be take inspiration from European pubs. Their full vision of the venue is going to come together over the few months, which is basically they didn't know how to describe it yet, it sounds like in the interview. And they say that they're going to pour lagers and have a Bock on draft at all times, but it's not necessarily going to be just a German beer bar. They'll also be keeping up with other things that people are drinking. He specifically mentions Russian River, Alvarado Street Brewing, and Humble Sea Brewing. So that's a good deal for folks down there in South Park because, like I said, Hamilton was the kind of center of the community down there for a while, and I guess these folks didn't have anywhere to go now that it's gone, and pretty soon they'll be getting a new German style pub, which is great because I don't know about you, but when I started brewing, especially back before craft was what it is today, man, those German and other European styles really were the things that spoke to me and got me into brewing personally.
Yeah, and they're tough though.
They're very hard.
They are tough.
Very hard to brew. Yeah. It's true. And then, so one last story that I want to mention is going to be a recap of San Diego Beer Week. We're just going to mention some events here. It's happening November 5th to November 15th. Today, I think, is the 8th, but so it's happening right now. But when this comes out in 2 weeks, it'll be over. So I just wanted to let everybody know that Beer Week is run by the San Diego Brewers Guild. It's a good deal for all the brewers, and there is tons of different events that you can take part in. So all the different breweries around the county have events. Sometimes I think I saw one day there were 17 different events around the county. And they're also doing, because there's no big unified beer fest still because of COVID restrictions this year, the San Diego Brewers Guild is doing 2 different kind of guided tour beer tastings, they're calling. What they really are is they're packaging up beer from different local breweries and sending it out to your home. And then they're going to have like an online thing where you can taste the beers and talk about them with the brewers and all that sort of thing.
That's a neat idea.
Yeah, and so I think that's all I really had on that. If you want to look at what they're doing this year to get an idea for next year, it's going to be web.sdbeer.com/events has all the information on San Diego Beer Week. Okay, cool. So I think we got our news and events handled there, unless anybody else has any announcements or anything.
I'm looking forward to checking out the new Bock place.
That's going to be
good.
Yeah, I know a lot of people were sad to see Hamilton's close, so yeah, that'll be great.
Yeah, right on. So on to part two.
Part two.
So today we're going to talk about Oceanside Ale Works. You guys have been there for a long time, as we mentioned, and have been a pioneer in a lot of ways, and I think done some things locally and in the San Diego community that we're going to talk about that kind of paved the way for a lot of brewers that came after you, and including even myself. At one point, I was a brewery owner, and I modeled some things after the things that you were doing, for sure. Some of them I probably shouldn't have, but
you don't have to pick up everything.
Probably I got some of the bad habits with the good ones. But I think at this point I'm going to just kind of hand it off to you for a little bit here. What we really want to do is hear about the Oceanside Ale Works origin story. How did you start? And then we'll start with that if you want to kind of tell me how you guys got going. And then we'll work in, a little bit of your history and bring it up to present day as we go. So, so really, just how did you start, and what was your inspiration?
Well, I was a school teacher for 17 years at Carlsbad High School. I taught wood shop and math. So I'm kind of a hands-on kind of guy.
That's
I like
an
that
interesting
kind of
combination, wood shop and math.
Math, But in wood shop, you use a lot of math. I mean, it's the way it is, a lot of angles and, measurements. And then one of my teacher buddies, Mike Reedy, he was a brewer for a little while over at Ebullition and helped me out and stuff. He taught me first how to brew on the all grain system in his house. And I think we did a Bock. I think that's what it was at the time. So did that, and I just got hooked into it, hook, line, and sinker. So I won the Royal Flush on Video Drop Poker shortly after in Vegas, and I bought one of those beer, more beer, 3-tiered systems. That was a half barrel, and I was brewing every Friday and Saturday, just got hooked. And all my buddies say, hey, you got to go pro, you got to open a brewery. I go, yeah, you say that because you're drinking free beer. So I said, all right, what I'll do is I'll enter a BJCP beer competition. and I wanted to win one in every state in the union before I went pro, because they have pretty good, outlines of what you do,
And for our viewers, BJCP is the Beer Judge Certification Program.
Yeah. So I got 49 out of 50 states. I missed it by Oregon, but they didn't have a BJCP competition then, so I entered one, but I didn't win some in Oregon. But 49 out of 50 was good enough for me to start pro.
So your friends encouraged you to start a professional brewery based on your home brewing, which you were able to start because of a stroke of luck in Vegas at playing video poker. Talk about a windfall. And also, most people, I think, don't do that good a job investing their gambling earnings. But man, you really made that pay out. And then so you entered a competition,
in every
a
state
proper
in the
competition in each state, not a
BJCP.
popularity contest. And 49 out of 50.
Right.
Is that gold medal in 49, or you placed in 49?
I placed,
Okay. All right.
Something first, second, or third.
Yeah.
I didn't count honorable. I did the gold in the Blue Ridge Brew Off, which is a 4-state regional out there. That was pretty cool.
So does that count as 4 states? Or?
Yeah, I did. I counted it as 4
right.
states. Yeah. Because it would have cost an arm and leg to ship to every state. And then our buddy Clay, I think he got the same award a few years later.
Oh, yeah. Old homebrewer friend of ours, for sure.
Yeah. Great
Right
helper over at the brewery, too, So, so that just kind of started. Then we leased a place off of Oceanic, small 1,700 square foot place. And gosh, we were only there for 4 years. Everything was going gangbuster. So I bought my building right now, 1,800 Ord Way. So, and that's where I've been ever since.
And how big is that space?
6,000 square feet.
6,000.
Yeah, and it's about 2,900 square feet of tasting room if you include the bar too. So yeah, it's pretty big. And then we got an outdoor patio area, which is pretty nice, so people can hang out when it's hot in the summer.
That's great.
I don't have any temperature control in the building, so during the summer it gets quite hot, but it's nice to go outside,
Right.
Sure.
And it gets cool this time of year inside the warehouse, but drink beer, wear a jacket, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Good stuff.
That was a lot of the attraction of it in the early days. It was just, before there was a brewery on every corner, going to a brewery was something special.
Yeah.
Like, can you believe they make beer here?
Right.
Tanks,
And
all
it's
this
it's
stuff.
just a big warehouse,
Mm-hmm.
and it was kind of eclectic because in 2006, 2007, we kind of had a market crash, market correction. People were out of work, but you know what they say. Beer and lipstick are recession proof. The girls still want their lipstick, the guys still want to go out and have the beer. And when you're in a warehouse not paying a big overhead and things like that, you can keep your beer pretty inexpensive, and you're just hanging around. So many people have met so many good friends, for example, Clay and Anderson's, all the people. We all just met over at the brewery, so it's kind of a, for lack of a better word, a cheers kind of environment.
Perfect. And there's nothing like tasting it at the source either.
Right,
it just brings
exactly.
a special element
Exactly.
to it.
Yeah, I tell people I don't have a born on date. You're in the delivery room.
Perfect. I love that.
Oh man, yeah. There's really just something special about going to the place where it comes from, because beer is one of those things, like, for a lot of people, I think it's like Doritos or something that you just don't know. You're just imagine it's there's some giant brewery somewhere, pumping this stuff out on an assembly line or whatever. So to be able to bring the public in and really show them how it's done and educate them and everything.
Get the beer tour, show them the tanks and stuff. People dig that. And I love showing the place around. It's neat.
Well, people love bragging about, I know the owner.
Yeah.
I met that guy. I think he bought me a beer.
I'm just the head
That's
janitor.
fun.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's a real connection right there.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah. And I love talking about beer, so when people ask questions about beer, I can go on for hours.
Nice.
Good. Well, we got an hour, so
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
So that kind of brings us then to the next point is so that's physically how you guys started and kind of your early kind of motivations. But as time has gone on, now that you've been in business for going on 15 years, what is your personal motivation to kind of keep going? What is the thing that you love about it so much? And we know that there's been some struggles and things over the years with business and stuff, and we'll talk about that. But what's the personal passion that you have, the motivation that keeps you going? There's been times where you could have just given up or sold it and probably made a lot of money and just went and put your feet up at in the pool in the backyard. What is it that keeps you going?
I like doing things, like by saying earlier, woodshop teacher. I like working on things and doing things. So you make beer, you have a product. you know, that comes out rather than just doing differential equations or something. I don't see much of a product come out of that. But when you're making beer, you get a product, and then people come in, and they may like it, they may hate it. We can talk about it. So having the camaraderie with all the people that come in is what keeps me going. So I was telling somebody earlier, I've got the world's best man cave. So I hang out, talk with people, you know, Charles and Donna, they come in every weekend, talk with them. And we also talk about other people in the industry, other breweries and things like that. So it's a lot of fun. I mean, you know, I don't think I have to go to work, but if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
well,
yeah, that's what keeps me going. I just love making beer.
Just having
and
fun
just
over
love,
there.
Love hanging out with people and talking about it and things like that. Yeah.
So the community of it, kind of.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Exactly.
So San Diego is known as a very inviting place to be a brewer. In that they're supposed to be very, you know, everybody really supports each other, and there's a good community sharing resources, recipes, even, you know, getting together to do advertising together and things like this. How do you fit into the local brewing community, and how do you find the local brewing community? Does it live up to its reputation? I mean, you've been in San Diego as a brewer forever and ever and ever. So how do you feel about, you know, in San Diego? Does it live up to that reputation?
Oh, certainly. Me more so just in the North County brewers like Booze that we mentioned, Maury, those guys, and Benji over at Culver. You know, we all sit together pretty much a lot, sit and go in, talk. Dan, I just went over, saw him over at Arcana.
Arcana.
Yeah, cool, hung out.
That
You know,
guy's great.
man, he made an awesome Märzen.
Does
it
he?
was unreal, yeah. I don't have very good success with those Oktoberfest beers, but he sure nailed into that. We hung out, took my wife over there, hung out with him. But yeah, so we're always talking, hey, I got this problem, or nowadays, because there's a weird thing with hops, and a lot of brewers want to get rid of the hops because the ones that were under contract during COVID, they couldn't use as much because they just didn't have the production.
Sure.
So it's one of those things, swap it out and things like that. So it works out real well. Yeah.
Hop
yeah.
swap.
Exactly.
So that's
Yeah.
cool. So that's good to hear.
Yeah, it does live up to it.
Yeah.
Like I say, I don't go south of the 78 that much, so.
Right on. Well, that's good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And
It works out well. Yeah.
I have, well, you know, my experience. I've been out of the industry for a few years, but when I
Yeah.
had my brewery too, I experienced a lot of the same things. That there was a lot of that community, a lot of people helping each other out, and you know, there's always going to be some animosity here and there, people that just don't get along or whatever.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's all the things that they say it is. It's very supportive, and there is that sense of community that we're all making beer, we're all just kind of drinking buddies, and we're all in it together,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. Well, I remember years when I opened, Brandon Hernandez, he writes for San Diego Beer News or something
Yes.
like that.
Yeah.
He'd come up, he says, I'd come up more often, but you're kind of on an island way up in North County, and people, you know, they'd still come in, the locals and everything. But when Midnight Jack opened, Black Plague opened, OBC opened, I got more customers because now it becomes a landing zone
Right.
for people to come out to my brewery. Because before, I'm just some clown up in North County,
Yeah.
you know. So having more breweries around, it actually helps out sales because it becomes a landing spot for people that want to try beers, let's say up here in North County.
Rising tide
Yeah.
floats all boats and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah, exactly.
Right on. So as far as the community and the industry, what do you feel has changed over your years in business? So if you're from 2006 to now we're in 2021, what are the things that you see as the biggest changes? And then maybe, you know, if you see any trends as far as like where it might be going.
Yeah, the biggest thing is the beer quality everywhere is just awesome. You know, because with, you know, Chris White getting pretty big at White Labs and having all the different yeasts, and he's really perfected his wares. The grain supplier right up the hill from me, walking distance, is Brewer Supply Group. That's where I get my grains from. So there's so much of a turnaround in the grains and all the different breweries. You're getting things fresher, quicker, and everything like that. With all the hop producers and things like that, there's a lot more blue chip hops coming out because there's a lot more breweries and everything. So then there's more of a variety. So the quality, I go around and I like everybody's beer. Some of the styles I don't care for, but you know, overall the beer quality is just phenomenal these days everywhere you go, which is a good thing. You know, so. That's one of the biggest things. And, like I say earlier, with all the camaraderie and stuff, that's still intact. You know, and go in any brewery and hang out, and you know, hey, I know you, you know.
100%.
Yeah, it's neat. Yeah,
It's great seeing the beer quality where it is.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Yeah, a real good job.
I think an interesting intersection between quality and like the collaboration and the camaraderie is learning from other brewers when you do collabs.
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
So
definitely.
it's those techniques that help the quality on top of all the ingredients that you mentioned.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely.
I've seen that been a huge thing in the beer industry.
Yeah.
You know?
I think information, the amount of information that's out
Sharing
there
it.
too, is a thing that's really
Yeah.
changed. Because
Yeah.
15 years ago, there was like one book on homebrewing you could
Yeah.
get,
With
and that was it.
Babazian.
And that was kind of it. And now
Yeah.
there's a million books and
Right.
all kinds of just on like there's a bunch of books on yeast now that like
And the science said they could go really in depth. You know.
When I started brewing and I wanted a book on yeast, I had to order a textbook from England, from one of their brew schools in England, and get it shipped over here so I could get technical information about yeast life cycles and all this stuff. Because it just you could get very cursory things from in your home brewing books or whatever, but that was it.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the things that's really changed is just that. And that's why people are making better beer too, is that it's easier to figure out how nowadays because there is that information.
And the equipment these days are making is awesome. Rob over at Premier Stainless and stuff. Just about everybody has one of those, so the equipment's a lot better. Like when you and I started, we're buying dairy tanks and things like that, or when Peter Zion started, you know.
I bought some of his old junk.
Yeah, that happens, you know. I was looking at some old Brew Your Own magazine. It showed Grossman at Sierra Nevada brewing some of his first batches out of old Grundy tanks and things like that. But these days, the equipment's really good.
For anybody that doesn't know, Grundy tanks were old, I think like 400-gallon-ish tanks that they were for English pubs. And so in the English pubs, instead of having like kegs shipped around, they would have a big tanker truck that was just filled with beer, and they would come in and they would pump it into the cellar in the pub and fill up the Grundy tank or whatever once a week, and that was how they got their beer, distributed. And so once they got away from that, all these old tanks that were sitting in the basements of British pubs came up for sale really cheaply, and they were horrible to work with. They didn't
always
seal
had
right.
leaks and everything like that.
But for like 10 years, they were like, if you could get Grundy tanks, you were in good shape, because they were in demand. Wow. I hadn't thought about that in years. Man, good stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Where were we? Okay, so we talked about what changed over the years for business in general, locally. So let's talk about what's changed in your business over the years. So I know that the brewery was shut down for a little while.
January 18th I closed down. Minor dispute, but I had a what do you call that when? Oh, a non-compete clause. So I had to wait for that to expire before I reopened, and I did our soft opening. And well, then pandemic hit, obviously. So, which was serendipitous, like I say, I owned the building. So I could redo all my glycol lines, my cooling lines, my electric, redecorate the place, and a little more raw and boorish environment. Like I say, there's a lot of real good breweries, but they seem to have the same kind of ilk going on, light tile, some tanks, and a tap room right in front of the cold room. I think it's cool, but I wanted to do something different. So I upcycled a bunch of stuff. I have a Buddha guy across the street that sells Buddha statues from Indonesia. So he has all these old boxes, that look older than I am. And, I paint them black light. And they're actually, I use storage because I put my kegs in them and stuff, and I have them strewn out throughout the whole place.
Like wooden crates?
Yeah. They're really cool.
So you're going for that Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, I got Raiders, Pirates. At night I have black lights in there because I did some painting on the back walls of some tanks and fake flames and stuff. So a lot of people say, well, I used to work at Disneyland. So that's kind of where I got the passion and the idea for it. Because, Walt and those engineers, they're amazing.
Sure.
It took me months to figure out where to put the black lights to light properly. You could easily get the black light stuff to reflect and show their iridescence. But you don't want the black light where somebody can see it because those LEDs are bright and very offensive. So it took a while, but like I said, I had time. I mean, we couldn't open for over a year because of the COVID restrictions because we were a brewery, not a brew pub. So we don't serve food. We can have food trucks and stuff, but since I can't serve food, we were the bottom on the list to open for COVID. But like I say, it was serendipitous. I got to, decorate, have a good time, stay away from people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a good way to set yourself apart, right? Kind of updating
Exactly.
the ambiance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
The other thing I'm hearing too when you describe this is that you didn't have any debt, and I think that
Yeah, right.
probably
Yeah.
made that all kind of possible. Where
Right.
some other breweries were really struggling to
if you're
stay
paying
above board during COVID.
you're paying a landlord a ton of money, and they need the money too, and you can't open. A lot of people did a good job with the to-goes and things like that, but you're expecting your tap room to pull in some, and then with the bars closed, there's no distribution on kegs or anything like that. Although the guys that did package, the off-premise guys, they did quite well because everybody's stuck at home, go to the liquor store, get your 12-pack. So I'm assuming places like Stone that package a lot did quite well during that time, so.
Yeah, I heard the exact same thing, even to the point where there started to be issues with getting cans and
there
other
were,
things to put the beer in,
exactly. There was a can shortage. There still is a little bit now.
So
Yeah,
talking
it's
about the future, and that's interesting you brought that up, Sean.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like all the shortages and the shipping problems and the trade wars with the price of stainless steel going through the roof and all this kind of stuff, what do you see in the next, let's say, like 18 to 24 months as far as challenges for people in the industry in general, especially for new breweries starting up, things like that?
I think that won't be a big challenge for them because everybody's coming out of this pandemic, and what do they want to do? Go out. And tasting rooms, they're pretty profitable when you're thinking, probably the average price now is what, $7 a pint, I'm guessing?
In San Diego,
so
for
in
sure.
San
7 or 8, I think.
So, let's say you have a small tasting room like I did before, and you're selling beers at $7 a pint, you're doing all right, and that's a good landing spot to start out. If you have the tasting room and you're paying your bills, then you can move up and, get bigger if you wish, or you can just be like me and hang out, open 3 days a week.
Sure.
No, I still distribute and stuff like that, but so not too much until next spring or something like that. So
you are going to look to grow distribution at some point?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
A draft or packaged? A little bit of both?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What kind of package format?
I do have a 22-ounce bottler right now, and then Cask Canning has some real good deals on some skid canners. I'm not going to be doing 100 pallets a month or anything like that. Just a little bit, yeah.
Gotcha.
Let me ask you this, since you mentioned that you have a 22 bottler, how have you seen 22 as a 22-ounce bottles as a package moving? I feel like you still see 22s out there, but I feel like they've fallen out of favor a little bit.
Yeah, they have, for sure, a ton.
4-pack of cans and the crawlers and all
I just
that.
read something from BevNet that said the biggest one right now, I think, is the 19.2-ounce cans. I think I read something
Is
briefly.
that the twisty top one,
No,
maybe?
some are twisty pop, but it just looks like a bigger tall boy is what it is. Those are big. But yeah, 22s, over by my mom's house in Am, there's a 2-story Bevmo there. The only 22s or that size they have are just some of the British beers that's all they
the
have.
only
in.
package,
So yeah, you don't see too many breweries doing those much anymore. Yeah. So.
Right on. Okay, one more crystal ball question.
All right.
With the local industry in San Diego, there's like, 165, 170 breweries now. Do you think we're kind of in a sweet spot? And it does seem like the brewery openings are slowing down a little bit. Do you think we're still going to see a lot more openings over the next couple of years? Or do you think like San Diego's got about as many breweries as it can manage at this point?
I don't know. It's odd because you make those kind of predictions. Most of the time you're wrong. It was 72, 73 was the Paris Wine Accord, where the Napa wineries like Chateau Montelena and stuff just kicked the French's butts on their wines on the big judging. And shortly after, everybody's opened wineries and things like that, and they said by 80, 81, there's going to be a saturation of wineries and stuff like that. We're 2021, and they're still pumping up there. Paso Robles has got a ton, Napa, Sonoma, they're still growing after 50 years.
Sure.
So I don't think it's going to get saturated. I think people are still going, especially with the quality, and then there's that pesky drunk driving law. You're not supposed to drink and drive, which I agree, it's a good thing. But so you have your local brewery, it might be small, where it's close by, walking distance to your house. I think that's why North Park and those places are doing so well. You don't have to drive if you're drinking and beer. So I think those will keep popping up rather than big giant restaurants or things like that. So I think,
Yeah, it makes it more of a local experience.
Yeah, exactly,
That's important,
exactly.
yeah.
On your way home, you know, hey, have a quick one.
Time to move on to our next segment, which is called Stump the Brewer.
Buckle up.
So don't look at the answers in front of you. So we're going to go ahead and we'll start with one that we've already kind of mentioned a little bit, and hopefully that you know this one. I bet you do, but let's go ahead and give it a shot. Who was the first brewer in San Diego to sell full pint glasses in their tasting room as opposed to only being able to give away 4 little free tasters?
That's a damn good question.
Yeah, who was that person? Who did that?
Some bearded guy, you know.
Yeah.
That was us. Yeah, when we opened, we were off of Oceanic, and the only 3 other, we're not a brew pub, we're a manufacturing brewery. Before me, who were still in business, AleSmith, Stone, and Green Flash. So they had the warehouse kind of environment too, but you would go with them on a tour, then they'd give you some samples or something like that. That was kind of the vibe. If you were a good customer and you bought a keg, they might give you a pint. But I read the Business and Profession Code. It says in it that you can sell to people on premise and off premise. It doesn't have any restrictions. And at the time, I didn't have any restriction. And the California ABC at the time said, no, you can't serve pints. And I went and I showed her the book. And she literally turned her head and wouldn't look at it. So I'm good friends with our assemblyman at the time, Rocky Chavez. So we went up to Sacramento to go talk with Jacob Applesmith, the head of the ABC at the time. And he said, I don't see any problem with serving pints, you know. And he said, good. And I went down, and the director at the time says, why do you hate me? I said, I don't hate you. I just want you to follow your own rule. And then all of a sudden, you know, I'm pints, and now you said there's 162 breweries.
Yeah.
Had I not done that and stayed with the tasting, as I mentioned earlier, selling pints in your tasting room, if you're starting out, is a good source of revenue. And if you can only do tasters, yeah, there wouldn't be 160 breweries around.
Right.
So
Yeah.
was that only a San Diego thing, or did that affect the entire state?
No, other people had been doing pints, like Island Brewing up in their Carpinteria.
Okay.
You know, they don't have food, and they
Yeah.
were serving pints. So, you know, the ABC is all county. It is like, or San Diego County,
Okay.
alcohol beverage control. Riverside has their own. And I heard Orange County was real strict. Even after we had a bunch here, Orange County wanted you to get a health permit too, even though you weren't serving food. And that was a big stink,
Interesting.
you know. And then finally Jerry Brown signed a law in that if you're a liquor, you know, manufacturer, you don't need a health permit for obvious reasons. We're regulated by the Alcohol Beverage Control, not the county health department. And there's a reason, like beer has to be at least 3.2 in the state of California.
Oh, interesting. I had no idea.
Yeah, because pathogens can't live in things under over 3.2. Salmonella dies, botulism dies. So that's why it's more of an alcohol-related industry than a food-related industry. So.
Because that kind of negates all the health concerns that
Yeah,
come with
exactly,
food.
exactly. I've had bad beers in the past that, yeah, you feel kind of sick, but it ain't gonna kill you. Yeah.
Sure. Gotcha.
Ah, man, that's really interesting. And
Yeah.
to think that you kind of paved the way for all these other brewers. I mean, even Stone Brewing, I mean, I remember going there back in 2008 or whatever before they moved up, or 7, before they moved up to the big house on the hill there. And that was, you would go in, and they would have a little wheel out bar on Fridays and Saturdays. They'd
Fridays
push
and
out with a
Saturdays,
couple kegs under it.
yeah.
And you would come in, and they had, I don't know, 4 or 5, and
Yeah.
you get a taster of each one, the pale, the IPA, I think it was the smoked porter at the time, and the arrogant bastard. And so there would be like 100 people in there, and this guy would just be pouring out, and you tell him which one you're on, 1, 2, 3, or 4,
Yeah.
you know. And so me and my friends would go, and we'd have 1 and 2, and then we'd just keep going back up. Which one are you on? 3, we're on 3.
The third
And
time you were on
Always
3.
on number 3.
And drink all day. And it was a big thing. And even with Aztec, when I opened Aztec Brewing Company in 2010 and got our license, the license says you can only give away, 4 little, 4-ounce tasters on the piece of paper they give you. And so we were, even then, and knowing that you were already doing this stuff and other breweries were already doing it, we were like, I don't know, it says that we're not supposed to do that. But
Yeah.
it turns out that's only if you're giving it away. You can only
Yeah,
give away
right,
so
right.
much.
Alcohol beverage control has
sure.
a rule that you
Yeah.
can't give away a certain amount of beer, and that's a good thing.
Sure.
You know.
Right on. Well,
sense.
awesome. So that's question number one. Good thing you
right,
knew the answer to
awesome.
that one.
That's quite a paradigm shift. That's,
I mean,
that's a huge deal for San Diego
Yeah,
County.
yeah.
That can't
And
be
you know,
understated.
at the end, all the government agencies dig it because I read some statistic or something. The breweries pay more taxes than all the professional sports teams combined.
Oh,
Wow.
That was when the charge was there. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
You know, and the revenue that breweries bring in, you know.
that would not
Yeah.
surprise me. The local government spends so much money on building stadiums for them and giving tax breaks and everything else. Okay, question number 2. Stump the brewer. What is the origin of Oktoberfest?
Yeah.
I know you have an Oktoberfest party. Just had an Oktoberfest
I
party
do,
at
yeah.
OAW.
And it does, sometimes it does go into September or something, because it was like a 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 day festival when some cats got married out there in 1810 or something like that. I don't know the names of the cats that got married.
That's a hard
but,
question.
yeah.
That's a lot of moving
Something.
parts in that question. I think you nailed most of the things. So it was a wedding celebration.
Yeah.
200 years ago. It was Bavaria's Crown Prince Ludwig married Princess Teresa of Saxony on October 12th, 1810. So you get the date right even.
Yeah.
We're giving you this one. Wedding was celebrated with multiple days of drinking, feasting, and horse races. I don't know if we still do the horse races today, but we definitely do drink and eat. That's for sure.
And eating good pretzels and Bavarian mustard.
Yes.
Bohemian mustard's good too.
Indeed. Okay. Question number 3. This one's more of this one's a little loose. You go either way with this. What's in your opinion, in your estimation, what is the correct term and why? Black IPA or Cascadian Dark Ale?
Oxymoron. That was a beer I made that we got bronze medal Great American Beer Festival on Oxymoron. And the reason I called it that is, how can you have a black India pale ale? Can't be black and pale at the same time, so it's an oxymoron. And we had all the oxymorons listed on the bottle.
That's
and our
great.
latest label on it just says oxymoron. This label is intentionally left blank.
Nice.
Remember, all those pages and those things, that's an oxymoron. It's not blank. I would have to say that, on that note, I'd say the Cascadian, because black IPA is just, it's not grammatically correct.
Or it should
know?
be like India Black Ale.
India Black Ale. Yeah.
there you go.
And those never really hit off that much.
They had a very brief window where it was like the next big thing, and then it kind of went away.
Right.
Yeah, and well, it's hard because like that power of the roasted malt flavor.
Right, yeah.
It's hard to. I feel like it's hard to differentiate an American stout from a black IPA sometimes. You know?
And some of the hops just don't work well with roasty things. For me in the oxymoron, we did more earthy hops, noble hops, because those work better in with the roast. But if you do something like Belma or some kind of citrus bomb, I think that'd be distracting. But that's just my own personal opinion. Other people might like Citra, black IPA, I don't know, but it just sounds distracting to me.
A lot of powerful competing flavors.
Yeah.
Hard to balance, definitely.
So while we're on that subject, what was the first not black IPA or Cascadian Dark Ale that you have that you remember? Do you remember what your first one was?
My first black IPA?
Yeah.
Well, we did a Pink Boots Porter, but it wasn't an IPA. Oh, I forget.
Mine happened to be the when Stone did it for their anniversary.
Oh, okay.
And there was so much demand for it that then they started bottling it regularly for a while, and that was their sublimely
sublimely self-righteous. Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I remember at the time I was on the train. I was like, this is the thing right
Yeah.
here. That's going to be the next big thing.
Yeah.
I think they recently re-released 6-packs of that.
Oh, really? Huh?
this
that
last
was
summer.
good. Yeah. They did a good job at the aroma from the malts and the hops. They did a real good job on the aroma on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, they spent time, I think, doing really testing batches until they got something that they really liked. Yeah, we just recently interviewed the San Diego beer historian at Cal State.
Oh, San Marcos. Yeah, I met her on our grand opening. I got to call her up.
She would love to sit down and interview you. And she had all kinds of archival stuff that she got from Stone, including like original homebrew kind of stuff.
No kidding, huh?
And it's really interesting. She said the question she gets about Stone most often is if she has the recipe for the smoked porter.
Oh, really? Oh,
Apparently
okay.
they haven't made that in years, and that's
yeah.
everybody's favorite from back in the day.
Oh, okay.
So, Greg, if you're listening, people want your smoked porter back. Okay, so the last one is more of an opinion question again. Smoothie style sour ales. I don't know if this is something that you've heard of or not. Is that the new trend, or you think it's too close to whatever Jamba Juice does?
Yeah, I don't know. What's his name over at, used to be Barrel Harbor. Now it's Nick Corona over at Five Suits. Mm-hmm. I guess he has one of those machines, you know, that have the kind of the smoothie kind of thing.
Oh, yeah?
And he says it's great, works well for the sours and the ciders. So, you know, I don't really know much about that. I just found out about hazies. No, not really. I know about hazies, But it's weird. Sometimes, like we're talking about black IPAs, sometimes, you know, you think it's going to be the next thing since sliced bread, and sometimes it doesn't. Who knows? You know, I'll still end up going to a place and getting beer, but you know, if somebody likes the smoothie style, that's all good.
Are you still making some sours?
Yeah. I got still bunches and barrels and stuff like that. I have the Blue A on tap right now. I think I'm down to my last 2 gallons of that, and I got some strawberry on tap right now. And then I have my lambics still in the barrels. So when I fire up the bottler again, I'll do those unblended lambics. You know, some are really sour and lactobiosis, some are blue cheesy. But a lambic, you're not supposed to blend the barrels together. It's each barrel should be bottled by itself and not blended. That's what they call it, unblended lambic. Right. So yeah, I'll bottle them and then I'll write on the back, enjoy barrel 35. So that somebody comes, hey, 35 is pretty good, but 42 might be totally different depending on how whatever's growing in that thing. Yeah, people always say, because I have been there, people say, hey, doesn't that go bad over time? I said, it already is bad. It already is bad. How do you know blue cheese is bad? You know,
that's a great point.
You know, and well, the good thing, the longer you keep them too, the Brettanomyces start to come out a little better. Helps balance it out. When they're really new and juvenile lambics, they're pretty sour with lactobiosis, pediococcus, but it's nice to get some of the wood and the Brettanomyces going in and balance it out a little bit.
How many years have those barrels been
Gosh, I have
aging?
the Leapfrog Unicorn. That's our, that's how I call it. Our Dolly-esque. Our Dolly-esque is our unlimited lambic. And then Robert Paramore, buddy of mine, helps me out all the time. He designed a label for it in the Dolly-esque style of a frog jumping over a unicorn, you know, and he's smiling. And I call it that because if you're drinking a lambic like mine that's bracingly sour and you like it, you've made it over the unicorn. Yeah, but if you don't like it, you know what happened to the frog if he didn't make it.
ouch.
That's about how I feel about lambic. So that hits the nail on the head.
I have to take Prilosec before I have that. You know?
Heartburn.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Oh man. Okay. So we're going to mention one upcoming event you have real quick, and then we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to go ahead and try out some Dude Double IPA.
Perfect.
And we'll hear all about that. So let's just take a quick second, and I think you have some upcoming events and things you want to talk about real
December
quick.
4th is I'm releasing an IPA called Hop Party IPA. Might be hazy, might not be. We'll see. I don't filter, so might be a little hazy. But I'm calling that, as I mentioned earlier, with all my buddies in the brewing industry who are kind of overloaded on hops because of the contract, and they need to get rid of some. So I bought a bunch, and the reason I'm calling it a hop party is because we put first part of the boil was only like 15 pounds for a 15-barrel batch. But then I had 2 of my helpers coming in, and we put 88 pounds in the last 10 minutes of all these different hops. You know, they kept going back and forth, dumping in pitcher and pitcher. So everything from Citra, a little bit of Mosaic, a lot of the C hops. So we just put it in. We're calling it Hop Party IPA. So then I got my brother-in-law's band, Gigawatt. They're coming out and playing. Endo Soul's coming out and playing. And then we got this, the these taco tenders. They're called the Local Spot. Man, they are awesome. They have these TJ hot dogs that are a sin. Yeah, they are so good.
What, pray tell, is a TJ hot dog? I need to have
You never
this
been down to a TJ?
I've been to
before?
TJ. I've never had a hot dog at TJ.
Yeah, they have in the little carts, and they're pretty big dogs. They're wrapped in bacon,
Oh, yeah.
mayonnaise, a little pico, some avocado, and the roll. It just melts in your mouth. Yeah. Well, you'll have to take some Lipitor after that, but
Sounds like it'll be worth it.
my wife doesn't really come in much on Fridays. And they were there on one Friday because she's a teacher, so she wants to get home. She's tuckered. She goes, I'm coming in. Not for you, Mark. I'm coming in to get one of those TJ hot dogs.
Priorities.
Yeah, exactly.
That sounds
they're
so good.
awesome. Yeah. So the band's be going all day and stuff like that. Yeah, hang out by the black lights. So that's December 4th. And then sometime in January, I'll do something else, But the music's really neat out there. Like I said, my brother-in-law's band, he's called Gigawatt, Back to the Future.
Nice. Yeah, what kind of music is that?
He plays everything, they do a couple Beatles, Stone Temple Pilots, stuff like that. So on our grand opening, that was their first, or soft opening, that was their first time playing in front of an audience. So I know a guy who has one of those DeLoreans. Yeah, so he came and drove around back and introduced the band. He dressed up like Doc. It was really cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Although on Buses Balls, he's got to do Huey Lewis. He's Gigawatt, but he doesn't.
Nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So you mentioned, so you have live music at the brewery then, is it every week? Or?
No, just whenever. Sometimes we have, somebody who wants to do a party, like guys, a car show came by. It was the eyelash lady that came by. Had some tents set up, to eyelash, and they had a good DJ last night. No, the night before last. And then sometimes the car clubs show up and they'll bring a band and stuff. So yeah, outside, don't have noise abatement, so it's okay.
It's fun. Yeah, because you're kind of out in the middle of the industrial park. Nobody cares if you're noisy.
We're in an industrial park. Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to that event.
Yeah, definitely. Come on December 4th.
That'll
Yeah,
be
definitely.
fun.
Yeah, it's fun. Hang out. And it's funny because all the events, people come, it's kind of like they come back together for a family reunion. Hey, I haven't seen you in 2-3 years. How's it going?
I imagine, especially your regulars, since you've been
definitely.
out for a
Well,
bit.
yeah, when I was out, come back. It was like a family reunion. I haven't
special.
seen you in years. So, yeah, it's definitely cool. Maybe we'll talk Claymo into coming out.
Pro from Vegas. Yeah.
Get the old band back together.
So you don't have to have any special permits or anything out there to do because I know Oceanside's a little tough on live music.
Yeah, if you're in a neighborhood commercial or like downtown or something, you got to get a cabaret license or something like that. I'm in an industrial park, and there's no residents around me or anything like that. So it is pretty good about
that's
that.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody was just telling me about a place in Vista that got in a bunch of trouble. They weren't supposed to have live music, and they were.
Yeah, because they're downtown.
Yeah, sure.
Right there and downtown, and then also you got to think about the crowds. So when I have something going on Saturday, and we shut down the music early. We don't go to midnight.
Sure.
I close at 10.
Right.
So we get everybody out way before then. But on Saturday, there's nobody working in our industrial park. I'm the only one open. So the parking's not an issue with things like that. So that works out quite well. But if you're downtown Oceanside, your zoning's neighborhood commercial. And then you run into the permits and things like that you got to get.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Right on. Okay, let's take a quick break. We'll go ahead and we'll grab that beer, and we'll go ahead and do a little tasting and
Good.
see what we have to say about it.
Yeah.
And you've brought a very special beer for us today, dude.
Yep. That's what it is. Yeah. Should I crack it?
Yeah. Why don't
All
you
right.
tell us a little bit about it while you're pouring some.
Well, dudes
for us
are
there.
double IPA, and I put 137 pounds of hops for a 15-barrel batch.
So we're gonna.
It's kind of almost short bus, But I do most of it at the end of the boil. So you're getting a lot more of the aroma, not quite the bitterness. There's yours. That's supposed to be in front of you because of the green screen. So I do that. I do Centennial, Columbus, Summit initially. Summit's a daughter of Cascade. I really like that hop. So that's for the initial boil. And cheers, gents.
Cheers.
Yeah,
Thanks for
enjoy.
bringing this in, Mark.
Oh, you bet. Look at the carbonation. That's doing real well. I filled it up yesterday in the growler. Growlers sometimes are kind of quirky. And then at the end of the boil, I'll do Mosaic hops. I got to do Mosaic with Columbus because Mosaic itself is kind of an odd hop. you know,
Sure.
and Carl Strauss makes a really good Mosaic IPA. They're one of the few that really do a good job with a single Mosaic. But I blended in with Columbus and things like that. So, yeah.
I'm liking that Columbus in there.
Yeah, it's good, yeah.
Yeah.
It's rich and oily.
This is
Very
really,
aromatic too.
really clean.
Yeah. So we named it Dude, not because of the movie, but it's kind of warped into that. But it was Steve Cancelleri came by, and we just made it a few days before, and we're testing out the sample valve. And Steve, it was smelling, he goes, dude, what is this? We kept going, yes. No, seriously, dude, what is it? Oh, yes, yeah. So it kind of just morphed into just, you know, when you drink it, smell it, it's 9.4, it's just dude, you know, so that's kind of what the name. The beer label is me on it.
Okay.
Because Jeff Bridges probably would have charged a ton of money.
So you're like the Beer Lebowski?
What's
happening?
Yeah. So it just kind of worked with that. And it was, the label is that Shepherd Ferry label, like the Obama posters and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
Very simple. You know, when we were talking earlier, 22s aren't that big, but back then we're doing 22s. That label really stood out than the normal line art you see from other breweries, so it stood out. And now all our logos are kind of that way too.
That's
So,
really cool.
Yeah.
So is this like a fan favorite as well?
Yeah, it is, but you know, I probably sell more blonde or the red because, you know, when people come in, it's 9.2, 9.4.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you're not going to be throwing 10 of them back.
No, not if you're
Otherwise,
gonna walk out of it.
otherwise you're brushing the floor off your shoulder. You know?
Sure.
But it's a funny story, dude, because we won 2013 San Diego International Beer Competition in the double IPA category. That's like winning the downhill in the Swiss Alps. So some clown comes up to me and says, dude, how did you get a gold medal in San Diego International Beer Competition? I said, I don't put fruit in my beer. And that was you. That was you that said that to me. He said, how do you do it? I go, because you were making your pepper stuff. And I said, I don't put fruit in my beer.
Yeah, that wasn't all my choice. We had a kind of a theme going that I had to stick to. Oh, man. But, honestly, that is a very, very, very tough category to win in San Diego is IPA or double IPA.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you look through, and I won a lot of medals at the International Beer Festival, but it was because I was entering categories that only had like 3 or 5 or 10 beers that had entries. If you enter IPA, there's probably like 250 entries at least, I would think.
Yeah.
You know, there's some breweries with multiple entries probably. They make different IPAs and all that kind of stuff. So for you to come out ahead of all those other breweries and all those other IPAs is pretty fantastic.
Yeah. I was stoked at that. And then one GABF, we got 4th, but we didn't medal in it, so that's pretty good. And they have like 500 entries. Well, not
more than that, but
some of the double IPAs.
Like
you know.
5,000.
And nothing sounds good when you say "dude" with it. Like somebody says, hey, how many dudes you had? 10 dudes one time in the jacuzzi with my brother-in-law. That doesn't sound good. Or my one bartender, Sid, she's working. She comes in the next day working. She looked a little haggard. And I said, Sid, what's up, little haggard? She goes, yeah, I got hammered by 3 dudes last night. Like I say, nothing sounds good out of it. Nothing, I can't.
That's great. I'm sure you didn't plan it that way.
No.
Thanks for a good story.
My neighbor Wayne, we had started canning it, and he goes, "Hey, I just had a dude in the can." Like I say, there's nothing good
That's
that
funny.
comes out of it. You know.
So he just likes it better in the can, huh?
And he also likes it in the shower. Dude in the shower too. He tells me.
That's some prison stuff right there, man.
Yeah.
Have you entered this in any other competitions or?
No, just San Diego International, and then one time at GABF. Yeah, competitions are cool. You know, it kind of gives you a little rise, a pat on the back. But as far as sales, I mean, before I knew GABF existed, I didn't go look at a bottle and go, oh, that's an award winner. I mean, our Oxymoron, it didn't sell worth a whole lot of nada. And it was a bronze medal at GABF. It's just the style and things like that.
Sure.
And people sometimes get myopic into what they're drinking. So, you know, it's kind of like the Oscars or something, you know, gives you kind of your own pat on the back and things like that. Yeah.
And I imagine like a brewery of your size, you're going to sell out of all the beer you make anyways.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like having a
exactly.
metal, there isn't extra beer to be sold anyways,
Right. And you know,
So
I'm
it's
not
cool, but-
I'm not busting my feet on the pavement trying to get rid of stuff. You know, I go through it,
Sure.
and if it takes a little longer, then I just don't brew that weekend. That week, you know, that works out well. Yeah.
Hey,
makes sense.
that's all right.
Yeah.
So, speaking of competitions and festivals and things like that, is there any coming up next year that you guys are thinking about taking part in, whether that's GABF or whatever?
I just got an email from World Beer Cup. I think the deadline's coming up to register for that, so I was thinking about that. What, San Diego International, that's usually June, isn't it?
It's been a while.
It's been, yeah,
It's
yeah.
whenever the fair is. I think it has. It's in
Yeah, so
conjunction with
it'll
the
be
fair.
summer. So if they're doing something for that, yeah, I'll definitely enter that one. That one's fun because, you know, I can take the people that help me out because they give you a bunch of tickets if you enter. Go down, hang out, do the whole beer garden thing. If you win, then, you know, here, show this around. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well, and it's local too.
Yeah,
and I guess we should see now that COVID's simmered down. You know, I do expect to see a lot more big events and everything next year.
Yeah.
We're hoping to be able to go cover some next year as time
that'd be
goes
good.
on.
Yeah.
Do some live stuff from beer events. So we're looking forward to that scene coming back too, because
Yeah.
it's been 2 years of virtual beer events. And
Yeah, and I don't understand. The
I
virtual beer event.
tried one
Yeah?
towards the beginning, and it was just awful. It was like poorly produced, and they just had like, I don't know, there was some brewer from a big brewery up north somewhere that I'm not going to mention that like they just basically, the guy was sitting on his couch with his shorts and his tank top and his flip-flops on with his cell phone talking and everything, and I just wasn't getting the value out of it. I mean, it was neat having the beer delivered, and we tried doing like a Zoom on one screen with our friends that were also doing it, and then the festival on the other screen, and it was so boring that I just couldn't do it. We ended up chasing all the beers together, talking about it, and then that was it. We only made it through like half of the festival programming, and it's not that there aren't. I'm sure there's people that've done online festivals, right? And that just wasn't a good example of that I attended, but. Boy, it's so much cooler and so much better to be able to do it in person.
Well, say my wife's a school teacher, and then when COVID hit, she goes, "Oh yeah, cool, I can do this online from home. I don't have to worry about it." After 2 weeks, she hated it. You go to a festival, you're a teacher, you want to be there with your kids and everything like that. Because I was a school teacher, if I had to do that online stuff for math, man, I would fall asleep. The kids would fall asleep. Being there in front of them in person is super important. So. I can understand why going to a festival like a GBF, somebody drops the glass and everybody buys it.
GBF, that same thing happened to me at GBF, and it was like right at the second we walked in, we were like the first 150 people or 100 people they let into the room, and within like 30 seconds the first glass breaks. Everybody cheers.
Yeah, bagpipes are going off, and it's cool going as a brewery because it's kind of neat because you can go behind and talk with some people at other breweries that are out of state that that might have moved.
What a good time that
Yeah,
was.
definitely. So.
Well, I think we're getting pretty close to running out of time and beer here. So I want to give you a last chance to plug any stuff that you got going on. And you can talk to the camera or one of the cameras on this one and let everybody know what events you have coming up. You can pitch the address of the brewery, what days are open, your hours, any beers that you got coming out that are new in the next whatever you want to say. This is your chance.
All right. I got nothing to say. No. Peter Zion told me one time, once you're in front of a microphone, speak about your brewery. We were over at Del Mar Fairs, whatever awards, speak about the brewery. Yeah, we got December 4th, our Hop Party IPA. That's the release on that day. Facebook, for some reason, deleted my account. So we got I don't know. And I don't talk politics on it or anything like that. But there was that. We have an Instagram, OAW Brew. So check it out. We'll post some things time to time. We're at 1800 Ord Way in Oceanside. And we're open Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 2 to 10. So cruise on by. Or if you want to chat, talk about beer, if the back door is open, come on in. So, yep. Cruise by, it'll be a good time, always is.
Is there like a secret password somebody can use to get you to buy them a beer?
Swordfish squared? I don't know. But my beers are the most inexpensive around because I have $4 the cups of beer. We do cups. I know he bags on the cups, but it's a city regulation. However, if you
plastic.
buy plastic, and those are 12 ounces, still $4, good deal. But if you buy a glass, they're a pint, and it's still $4 of no matter what beer you want. The Tennessee whiskey at 11.4, Buccaneer Blonde. So, and then keep your glass in your car, whatever. Then you get the full pint instead of 12 ounces for $4. Then we got the growlers, and Dan Guy over at Arcana sold me his little growler machine, so we're gonna be doing those and things like that. So yeah, come in, have a good time, relax. Got popcorn, got food a lot of times. Sometimes we don't, but there's a lot of carbs in beer, so that'll work.
That'll work. Excellent.
Oh, love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, my
right,
pleasure.
man.
I do dig this, you know.